This is the audio edition of Touchstone, produced by Poetry Society of New Hampshire, psnh.org.
You're in the Poem by John Gray. These words of mine swear allegiance to what can never be. Luckily they don't know that. And when piecing you together, they've convinced themselves that a perfect phrase is on a par with consummation. You're here in every line, from the soft backwash of your hair, your eyes' native land, those lips of freedom disguised as pert discipline. And if the poem mistakes itself for the body it aches towards, I won't correct it. Let it believe in its own pulse. Let it carry you the only way I'm allowed.
This is Josh Nicolaisen reading Ode to Installing a Poet's Walkway for Liz All. No metaphor here. These stones are stone. My face a stone you can get sweat from. My fingers flesh that drip scarlet while setting slabs so they don't swivel or shift underfoot on her way out to a reading at a local library or school or bookstore. She will no longer have to tromp through the mud song of mashed weeds and grass and route to classrooms and cafes where she'll dispense her eloquent devotion. Outside of her house, I wrench my back, like the wrong words caught in a tight throat. Wrestling, rocks I pulled like rooted teeth and placed like hard truths spoken to ornery ears. Pounding the stubborn stones down into dust with a rubber mallet, swing after swing. With each swing pondering, lost spaces around me, within me, recalling the bully, reconnecting with black flies. I hear a guest laugh inside. This is a case for solace. This is something good. Her words are stones, some slick, polished marble, others sharp as wetted bones, jagged granite that heaves like a hard frost, words that bite like a fly in May, that rake the skin of hands like splitting firewood, words that teach, fledglings they can, do more than pound stone, words that beat bounds, words that hover over you, become birds.
Midge Goldberg. One More Night. Epigraph, Phil Collins. This song doesn't make me think of you. It makes me think about thinking about you. About me, there in my dorm room, 40 years ago, an icy New England January, the radio on, reliving how, on a warm Florida night in December, we danced to this song once. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, but I remember remembering you with a pang I'll never forget. Thank you, what's your name, for the memory of who I was.
Driven Through the Recognizable City Where I Do Not Have a Home by Paul Godarzi Fry. Read by David Bannock. Sometimes I lie and say I want for nothing. Sometimes the turkey vultures circle just above the power lines, and today they're barely earthbound, distant soldiers pricking blackness on the pectorals of impending rain. Those thunderheads solemnly conveyed through the world like a pack of confused and gentle horses, raise their sightless faces so slowly that we could hear them. I hear the thrum. Sometimes I call the storms majestic, but not royal. I've steep hierarchy wherever there is sky above me. I lie to myself as if lies will sow fruitful truth. No, nourish it, as if a body manifests truth, instead of the mind labeling body as body, Mind calling storm a storm, calling out distances and shapes and analogous animals. This is all there is. Interludes entreating thunder, rising winds that carry the carrion feeders away. June's boiling night rolled in like curling little petals, once coaxing and veiny. And I sat up in bed in the dark, and I spat out that I did not want to die. Once more, the first warm rains of the year.
Leanne St. Laurent, in which there is a remedy for winter. Even last summer's Gomfrina, brown, wind, and winter whipped, hopes and prays for her children to bloom brightly when snow is melted. Yes, you, even you, can swallow this. Leanne St. Laurent, empty. When the flowers faded, I left them in the woods. When the earth grew hard, I dug deeper. When your bones rattled, I closed my eyes. Where the road split, I chose neither.
Marion Schaefer reading Mud Season Liturgy. All come back to mud in spring from dry, thick beds above the ground, line up at storm doors, exiting with swollen eyes, pajamaed, gowned sleepers from behind the wall, shedding layers of wool and cotton left like dead skins where they fall, chanting rituals forgotten, listening for the call to leave dead nests, anoint with earth's sweet blood. Come forth, celebrants, receive embrace of air and kiss of mud.
My name is Ashley Anderson. Spring Blues, after Amy Cesar's Lagoonal Calendar. The dryness in my mouth feels a lot like May. The coldness of the air and the heat from the sunlight make me lightheaded. I have always hated spring, its habit of interrupting the dying rest of the trees outside my childhood window. Spring is invasive. It never asks for permission. There is no room for it on the calendar.
Try to Want This Desolating Spring by Carla Schwartz.
Try to want this desolating spring. A poem written after Adam Zagajewski's Try to Praise the Mutilated World. Try to want this desolating spring, the sun barely peeking out from thick walls of cloud, the wind blustering through your shirt with cold, the sand-roughened earth the turkeys dug last fall. Don't cry for campers tornado-crushed, twisted and thrown into creeks. Not for the hardships your grandkids will share. Remember, you too can put your whole back into moving mulch. Fear for the swagger, the selfish bluster. Try to brace for the next storms, the next wrongs. Remember, you too are born of immigrants. Remember, you too once held up placards, shouted your voice raw, ached to be heard. Try to want this desolating spring, and the first green swords of daffodil leaves, and the scent of worms after a rain, the promise forced forsythia makes, for flowers return. Thank you. This has been Carla Schwartz.
A Pantoum for Pretty, January 24th, 2026, by Beth Fox. People march with phones in their hands. This soldiery is what they know. With whistles they walk like lambs. What they witness needs to be told. This soldiering is what they know. A young woman lies on the ground. What he witnesses needs to be told. Tears as he kneels, gas as he's down. A young woman lies on the ground. You okay? He asks on his knees. Tears as he kneels, gas as he's downed, with the buzzing of angry bees. You okay? His last words on his knees. In seconds, the actions unfold. Face down in a surge of angry bees. What they witness shouts to be told. In seconds, the actions unfold. With whistles, we will walk like lambs. What we witness demands to be told. We will march with phones in our hands.
Linda J. Thomas, Fuller Trees, cascading branches, their bark as smooth as my palm, an invitation. Linda J. Thomas, Rose Fantasy. Lightning bugs burst like fireworks on black velvet sky, roses ooh and ah.
The Pond, the Memories, and the Small Fish by Marjan Koshbazan.
The pond, the memories, and a small fish. A few memories settled at the bottom of the pond. The man without will moves towards them. The grasshoppers feel the danger and try to wake the meadow. The man steps. A few blades of grass die in their sleep. The man steps. Grasshoppers leap under the faces of the grass head. The pond gazes up, it is scared, and leans against the trees. A small fish chews the memories. The man stops. Suddenly asks himself, what am I doing here?
Collapse by Ala Khaki. All is disintegrating around us. Hand grenades roll down the crimson carpet of a reunion. Deranged hordes stampede through unfinished harvests. Towering facades corrode at the base by festering rust. All is disintegrating around us. Disease of indifference, silent observance, harbor of distractions, leave the light to gasp in murderous smoke and dust. Rage, rage, rage before idle idealism, hunched over with worthless remorse, born of impotent hopes, wades through the detritus of what could have been before all is lost.
This is Shelley Rodrigue reading The Toad Does Not Think of Honeybees. The toad does not think of honeybees. They are neither friend nor food, so why should he? He minds his lily pad, ignores the trumpet of their wings. Being neither friend nor food, the bees disregard the toad's grumbling, arrive with trumpeting wings, and land like helicopters on his back. With no regard for the toad's grumbling, the bees locate a safe place to drink, and land on the textured helipad. The bumps on his back become a stream, flowing slow enough for bees to drink. He lounges half submerged on a lily pad, unaware he has become a stream. The toad does not think of honeybees.
Ripple by Tara Zaft. She says hello in English and then my name. She couldn't know, but today a remembered name is no small thing. Today a remembered name is an old friend's embrace, a bisou, a you belong. It's Mama's sweet milky oatmeal topped with butter and brown sugar, an infinite ocean of glittery meltiness. Today her hello warms the ribs, and I tell her I like her tattoo, a series of round shapes on her shoulder. Spirals, ripples, she says. Like in water, I say. Movement, she says, and demonstrates with the fingers of a dancer. I nod and turn away before she sees my tear.
Marjorie Moorhead, reading Glee, Side by Side. Glee, side by side. Noisy urgency at the playground filters through long church windows, contrasting with slow, flowing Tai Chi movements of our class. I like when our class time inside the church coincides with outdoor recess at the elementary school next door. Hearing squeals, happy screams, and laughter as we shift weight, move chi, breathe quietly. We practice unity, centered serenity, balanced presence, alignment. Finding this and honing it together is a kind of glee celebrated internally.
Neurons Named Susan by J. Allen Nelson. Agony clues the yanked emotion from this autistic, data-driven skull, circuits crackling electric underbone. Susan, my sober cynic, rest your head upon my chest. Let dark hair splay across ribs like spilled night. Your hand on my cranium feels the fire of neurons firing where blood floods. No honeyed mouth, no eBay trance. Reality exceeds the parsed parts. The whole outstrips instinct, time, particle. Eternity sprays from ancient fountains, brush drawn through hair into rays of dark. You call us sentient points in defective machines. Soul the con of the conned. My logic reverses it. These flawed bodies freed us. Star death, planet's fragile crust, to this now. Grateful for calcium matrix of your bones, amino acids transubstantiated into Susan. Chance subsumes to choice. I choose you, zenith of my span, primary bump of being. Your otherness eludes logic's net, chaos knocking at lab, bar, home, thumping the asinine cap to the ground. I whirl like a dog at its tail. You slip finite grasp, yet tap again. Squeeze the technical mind till nets collapse to one resonant name, Susan.
Julia H. Fonte. What bubbles your blood? It's the scent that gets me, tickles every one of my cells with its essence, even springing my toes off the ground on this perfect northern day when sun nudges air towards 70 degrees and the sky cannot find even one cloud to adorn its lapis attire. You know this day, don't you? It milks wild sweetness from violets, daffodils, honeysuckle, extracts earthiness from pine, grass, oak. Then it scoops them all into a gentle whirlwind, dispersing a bouquet that explodes throughout this aging body of mine. And I am in my future, my blood alive, bubbling with red clover.
Congratulations, it's bacteria. By Gia Cohen. I've been carrying around salmonella for 2 years in my guts, getting sick, vomiting everything I put in, not aware a person could have salmonella and Shigella for 2 years and live. They broke my pancreas with their wriggling little bodies and made my body little with their wriggling. The taste of acid booked a residency on my tongue and throat, a Burning Man festival in my esophagus every single day, burning me from the inside out, man. Oh, you look so good. You lost so much weight. Your clothes don't fit anymore. You look different. Are you okay? Your skin is blotchy and misshapen. You have dark circles eating the space beneath your eyes like worms. I'm a good American, I say to my Thai doctor as she tells me the news horrified. We don't get sick or thin. We simply obey the culling of the weak.
Physics lesson, read by Martha Bufkin Kane. I don't know much about physics, but the night the doctor called and told me to come quickly, and when speed and cold fused into a nucleus of words that met me at the door, the fabric of the universe folded, spilling new stars into space, fissuring the ocean floor, angular momentum and a beam of balance and some kind of law of the conservation of energy kept me from falling into the hole rent in time. And I became something ineluctable, indelible, incandescent, irretrievable. Before, I had only known Newton's third law, that two bodies would exert their force, their gravity, themselves upon and against and with each other. But when the universe did its thing and left me in the umbra, I understood nothing at all.
Earth's magnetic North Pole continues moving east. Written and read by Cheryl Chizevsky. Epigraph. Nothing happens until something moves. Albert Einstein. 1. Along the river, note signs of winter. A deep cold has touched the waters in slow-moving coves. Icing over has begun. Waters unmoved take on the color and crust of frozen. Keeping the channel open are active atoms of water, the inevitable result of the physics of energy and motion. 2. During brutal winters in our old New England farmhouse, we used a trick we learned from a local old-timer and let a trickle of water flow from the faucets, just enough moving through to keep the pipes from freezing up, from potentially bursting. 3. A neighbor's Parkinson's has gotten worse. He thinks of taking a step, he says, but the message does not reach his foot. So he stands there, frozen, immobile as a stop sign in his own living room. But if he hums the battle hymn of the Republic, immersed in the rhythmic flow, he moves.
Gorge by Cole Rullane, read by David Bannock. From the bottom of this gorge, the span looks nigh impossible. A riverbed so dry and scraped that wildflowers have begun to reassert themselves. How it must look in the moonlight, rambling over pale green granite. Fill pockets with enough slate to build 1,000 ruined stairs. God of jars. First, though, sit. Be small with me for a bit. Harsh smoke to the north and green plums along the road to collect as we make our way. They say that grove is haunted, Shall we look? Following the swarm of breadcrumb starlings, forest has given way to farm, clearing. There are so many stars. Look up! Look up!
Giving Us the Moon by Matt Zambito. They asked Katherine Johnson for the moon, and she gave it to them. Wielding little more than a pencil, a slide rule, and one of the finest mathematical minds in the country, Mrs. Johnson calculated the precise trajectories that would let Apollo 11 land on the moon in 1969 and, after Neil Armstrong's history-making moonwalk, let it return to Earth. Margaret Fox from the New York Times. The math this human computed let more return to Earth than left. Explorers so multiplied by the overview effect that the exact amount could only be found by West Virginia's Katherine Johnson. A sum of syllables we ought to tabulate, who must have stared up and taken in many visions of her moon, eye-opening in the same ways as it remains today. Oh, those degrees of grayscale cratered, those rocky variables uncharted, and tallied all the extant measures her mind could cipher, and added how vacuums and voids function, then carried the two, and gave the undeserving world the ultimate discoverable result.
The Missing Piece by Veronica Tucker. One corner of the puzzle never turns up. We check the box twice, then the floor, then beneath the couch where small things go to be forgotten. The picture is almost complete. A lighthouse, a clean edge of shore where nothing bad has happened yet. We leave the space open, white cardboard showing through like a held breath. Days later, I find the piece in my pocket, creased, unrecognizable, its edges softened by walking. I don't put it back. The gap has learned its shape. Some things only fit after they've been lost long enough to change.
This is Kathy Twing, reading my poem, A Liturgy for Birthdays. My sister boxed a basket woven from island willow shoots she cut on her birthday, shipped it to me parcel post. I filled it with dreams, or maybe they were prayers. May we have health, may our strength outstrip our challenges, and may we not be put to the test. May wild parsley bring swallowtails. She wrote that the handle is too narrow, but I love the thin curve, like her wrist when we were kids, and our fingers wove dandelion crowns without aching. The canes bend in diamonds, or ratios to the pattern of my prayers. It's my birthday week. I want to suck nectar from the carpel of each day. Sunlight, sparking leaf edge, unexpected indigo of Ruellia, taste of tea and scent of sage after summer rain. On her island in the Salish Sea, my sister will sing Dad's old songs while she cuts fresh shoots for next year's basket. Green canes ripen to bronze as answers follow prayers. I'm already collecting stones and feathers to fill it.
Borrowed Light by Susan Zeeley. The Shakers called it borrowed light, this way to share the sun with a room of all interior walls. A larder, maybe, space guarded from the elements, goods secured against extremes. Thus this high, narrow transom, 8 small panes, to render a room ajar to the light of another. Just so may a man, a woman lend a kidney to a stranger. A daughter, a son come sit again, tired, to spin a story of their day while stroking a pale palm. A friend puzzled to parse meaning from the scratchings of a brain gone haywire. The inner room needs its insulation to keep the butter from melting, the body its filter to keep from filling up with poison, the final hours welcome voices to keep the spirit from flattening, the tormented an ally to keep the mind from seizing beneath its own white fury. And the room wants light, so someone can see well enough to replace the things all spent, to prepare for another meal, a recovery, a death, a vigil. So God can show his back, his face, but not his hands, a mystery.
Richard Steemack, Extractions and Replacements. In one short month and a handful of days, a doctor learned in medical art will slice me open to remove a part of my hip, as the de-angel ablaze touched Jacob's thigh. I won't have a dust-up with a cherubic-draped medical staff whose Talmud scrolls are a radiograph of my body sanitized and trussed up and laid upon the ER altar table where I will dream incubatio dreams as a thin smoke ribbon of my soul streams heavenward, like burnt offerings from Abel, himself named from morning mist that burns off with the risen sun. Then I will revive. A blue, scrubs-clad post-op angel will shrive my confessions through my mumble and cough.
Florence by Patrick Bradshaw. She said the rosary like she was trying to put out a fire, prayed to the Sacred Heart to ask if she was going to heaven, baked pies and canned tomatoes in terror of mortal sin. It was her fault being old and sick. The barbs caught in her heart were not our problem. We were hung up on trouble hooks of our own. We didn't know the 12-year-old who looked into the lens, smiling, arms crossed as if she'd just taken a dare. Her heart was just fine then. She hardly knew it was there. Things might have been different if we could have turned ourselves inside out or dared some other impossible thing.
Jocelyn K. Amphetamine by Night. 1. The sound came first, and then appeared the flashing lights. Through the sheer curtain I peeked, then lifted the blind. 2 fire trucks, but firemen moseying, unrushed. A disturbing strobe effect engulfs my neighbor's house. Despite the August humidity, I find and put on my sweater. 2. My dog has taught us a thing called white shaker syndrome. Apropos of nothing, he shivers, shakes, jerks his head. Seizure negative, we are told, though if it walks like a duck. He was found shot and starving in the woods of Vermont. Without learning of WSS, we would still think PTSD. 3. Not a hold your breath and you'll turn blue cessation. The man in my bed stops breathing and then resumes, maybe brought on by dying 1,000 deaths in a lifetime. He makes an appointment with a white coat and will ingest news which will drain color from his most beautiful face. 4. Migraine auras around your head, and in my eyes I see the zigzagged lightning bolts fiercely dancing along with them. My vision is so advanced, I see things that aren't there, and this truth has persisted for decades, which contradicts my atheistic belief that you get one strike and you're out. 5. I've bought that story before, the one with the promise of sweet dreams and restorative energy within my reach like a dangling carrot if I just close my eyes. But I do not sleep straight through the glorious night, and I want a refund. Everything I absorb by day converts itself into amphetamine by night.
Hello, my name is Dev Datta, and I'll be reading my poem Dark Rose Stirrings. The alarm rings once, then twice, a plea, a protest. My bed holds me hostage, its warmth a silent argument, against the cold tile floor, against Monday itself. Eyes half-masked, body caught in the undertow of sleep, I fumble my way to the kitchen, where darkness waits like an old companion. Fingers trace their way to the coffee maker, flick the switch with a reluctant sigh. Water hisses, beans surrender, the first tendrils of aroma curling like a genie, a quiet spell being cast in the stillness. Somewhere between the first rise of steam and the gurgling promise of liquid gold, in an instant I'm wide awake, my nostrils scouring the air, my eyes bright, my lips holding high the anticipation. The world is no longer cruel. The counter feels solid under my palms. The air hums with something lighter. I pour, I sip, hot bitterness unfurling into warmth, a slow exhale curling, the liquid perking me up. And then, almost as if the sky had been waiting for this, vermilion begins to color the edges of dawn, like Pegasus streaking across the clouds. One bird, solitary and uncertain, sings to the new day, one note, full-throated, cutting through the hush of morning, then incessantly repeated. I sit back, cup cradled in my hands, listening, watching. Monday is still Monday, but its weight has softened, its edges now turning mellow in the diffused light. Thank you.
Joanne Mellon, My Kind of People. Who says psych wards are depressing? One night when I was there for Christmas, we went sledding down the hill in front of Mary Fletcher Hospital with our male nurse keeper on plastic cafeteria trays. What a hoot! Those second-shift nurses knew how to heal our heavy souls. We flew down and tumbled off and felt like laughing children for a little while. And we could smoke then, even smoke in our rooms. What a comfort, what a relief. It's the first thing I'd want when I'd end up on Baird 6 again. And I didn't care if I ever went home. We'd play gin rummy, hearts, and ping pong, talk late into the night, my new friends and I. They were my kind of people, lost, off kilter. Sometimes, afterwards, I'd read about one of them in the obituaries. I still smoke sometimes, but the Mary Fletcher Hospital is now a conglomeration. The Hill is inaccessible. The psych ward isn't on Baird 6 anymore. And nowadays, if an LPN took a bunch of mental patients out sledding after dark on colorful plastic trays to cheer them up, he'd get fired. No, it just wouldn't be that much fun anymore.
The Restaurant Where My Best Friend Came Out to Me by Jonathan Fletcher. Some things are easier to digest than others. A tavern burger, a portion of truth, an obelisk of onion rings, the thought I might be bigoted. Some things now make me ashamed. My obvious gulped when you prized me with such honesty, as if a fat piece of patty stuck in my throat. I wanted to excuse myself to the men's room, splash my face in the sink, think while in porcelain, question everything you told me, scrutinize the proximity between us every time that we'd hung out, the distance from your toe to mine, the position of our respective bodies. Instead, I remained, forked my fries, studied the vintage film poster of King Kong on the far wall, some screaming blonde in his tight grip. Then I felt your hand on mine. I know it's a lot. Take as much time as you need. Around us, couples were laughing, babies elevated like kings babbling. Around a narrow table sat a silent family of four, hands clasped, heads bowed. You thanked me for not leaving, was simply staying. Such a blessing.
Violet, violent, vanity. written and read by Kyle Edward.
I have this recurring dream where it's summer and violet and words carve nothings into the evergreens that leave twisted shapes. Shapes that sing out notes as a reminder that you are not worth loving. I wonder if the knives placed directly underneath the skin make it to the surface, like groundwater in March. These little vanities propagate through even the freshest of eyes, the brightest of minds, the straightest of branches, until they physically manifest. At the end of the dream, I am back in the theater again, wishing the wax floors would melt my winged ankles. So I cut to the one where I'm home and safe in my bedroom and stitch back my arteries so they can't perceive the bloodshed, so they know I'm brand new again. When I tell you that falling so violently causes bruises so violet, my vanity is somehow what pulls me out of the ground again. I cancel all my subscriptions and start over in a new town I can dream up. Towns where summer still ends every year, where wives make their husbands hang picture frames on the weekends. When I awake, the dark holds me up and fits me into an envelope sent into tomorrow. If you hold up the paper, you can see through the other side.
Man Running by Benjamin Nash, read by David Bannock. On a dark street, a man runs by us with blood dripping down his arm. The concrete red hot. Heat, the summer. I didn't hear a shot in the night, alarms, sirens, or shouting, speed, running fast in the French Quarter. Maybe it was a woman tried to cut his heart out. Butcher knife. Blood is like red neon to us. But he is gone. We keep walking, looking for our car. A little drunk, we forget. Think about going to bed, what we will do tomorrow. Watch ships go by on the river. Slow ride on a green streetcar. No sign of police anywhere. Wonder what we pay them for. And above, moon, a sugar cookie like my grandmother baked in a flat black cast iron pan, with the cats watching through the screen door on the back porch.
Johnny Waits by Kit Brymer, read by Nora Smith. Hope is a muscle I keep pulling. It's 9 a.m. and I'm standing half naked on a scale. I am told that for some people it's always like this. They play the relapse game until their heart gives out, or worse, keeps going. You could turn 50 on waiting, 60 even, and nothing would change. When prom skirts spilled over the grass, the rhythm was inside me, the numbers coming as easy as waves crashing. And even before then, I wore that bruise as proudly as I wore the medal on my teeth. A 12-year-old shouting, "Look at me. I need nothing but sun and water." It isn't fun anymore. There's no poetry when it's happening, just a body in a room having to sit with the things it has done to itself, the time it has wasted. By 9:30, all of our weights have been recorded, and we are allowed to change out of our hospital gowns. And in the stalls, as shirts are pulled over heads and jeans are zipped up, you can hear the clanging of keys and change, all the things we used to weigh ourselves down.
Mother's Legacy by Barbara Bald. Her first thin gold wedding band held tiny diamond chips that matched the budget of young lovers. The 2 ring guards that held it in place heightened the illusion of worth. The second one, the one that I'm holding now, is thick, gold with diamonds set in a white gold oval, pointed on both ends, like an eye always watching. Why did she buy the second one? How far into the marriage, into the disappointment, into the aging? It's a beauty, really. But we had to pry it off her finger in the hospital. Small fingers swell when people die, the nurse said. If we don't take it off now, it will go to the grave with her. So we twisted and yanked. Even in a coma, she recoiled. Guilt piled upon guilt, its eye forever watching. I keep the band in a satin-lined jewelry box with her cameo brooch and a ruby pinky ring. The first wedding band, I wear it sometimes, like a ring guard, to hold things in place.
My name is Tom Smith, and I will be reading my poem titled Gas Station. Gas Station. Every week they would hand me off at the gas station. They would pull around back where the addicts were busy with their transaction. I felt like a transaction. When Dad dropped me off, he would rifle through the junk in the back seat of the car and throw the trash away. I felt like trash. When Mom dropped me off, she would go inside the gas station and buy a bottle of booze to forget life for a while. I felt forgotten. Every week they would drive away from the gas station, one car lighter without me, and one car heavier with me. I hate gas stations.
This is Carrie Troutman.
This is Duster Brookshire. Respite Villanelle.
A contoured villanelle using Mad Girl's Love Song by Sylvia Plath.
Lately, in my dreams, I'm visited by the dead.
We rest against my pillows, sip coffee, and laugh again.
I'll take the sweet respite I find in my head.
Instead of my real hands clutching a lone goblet of red.
I turn on the news, the horrors bombard, seep in.
So I welcome peaceful visits from the dead.
My grandmother sits on the edge of my bed.
I confess the daily news is making me insane.
Holding her hand is sweet respite in my head.
The eyes, the voices of those I've lost refuse to fade.
They are the women of my life, while the men
know better than to visit. They can just stay dead.
I try to ignore the hateful words my father said.
Forget the scowling mouth that spat my name.
There is no sweet respite with his voice in my head.
I raise a glass to my late grandmother instead.
If only I could hold her soft hands again.
Not just in dreamy visits from the dead.
Her voice is a sweet respite that lives in my head. A contoured villanelle takes the end word from each line of an existing villanelle, matching end words in the same order to construct a new villanelle.
Trust Me by Laura Foley. Would I want to murmur to my newborn son, though for months I've dreamed him as a cat, small, warm weight curled in my ribs. After 4 sisters, my father longing for a boy, after watching strangers' toddlers spill across a bright lawn, unfurling an ache in my chest, after loving a man shaped by history, marrying quickly, as if time were already chasing us, here you are, sliding out of me into the cold September dark, the midwife ordering fire, as if I labored on some ancient plain, my body opened further than thought, some door I never meant to try, swung wide. I deliver not a cat, but this furious, milkless boy who wails against my skin for hours as if he mistrusts the world already. Finally, as sunrise lights the salmon-colored chair, as the window's stained glass tree casts shadows over us, he loosens, a small animal finally deciding to live. I hold him, my whole body saying what my mouth barely dares. Trust me, I am new to this too.
Elisa Parcells. For Harriet Bailey, Frederick Douglass's mother. I think of her sometimes when I'm walking down the quiet streets in my neighborhood, where every house sits on over an acre behind trim shrubbery, where front lawns are wide and driveways are long, lined with flower gardens or hedges. I walk late into daylight-saved evenings, pulsing with tree frog and cricket songs, and the hiss of cicadas and lawn sprinklers. It's 1 mile down to the cul-de-sac and back. By the end, my steps grow slow. I read somewhere that she walked 12 miles down dark dirt roads and probably at times through woods after working all day in the fields, just to be with her son, who was taken from her as an infant, who she hadn't been able to pick up and hold when he cried, or whenever she felt the urge and need to kiss the sweet smoothness of his cheek, nuzzle the dear baby of him, the perfection of him, the hers of him. 12 miles in the dark, just to lie next to him, to hold him for a few hours while he slept. Then, not knowing when she would make this trip again, she'd walk 12 miles back straight into the fields as the sun was rising, holding the precious scent of him in every breath.
Mom is a Sticking Door by Olivia Walters, read by Nora Smith. Gentle violence opens this body. Your knuckles, swollen purple with the weight of your womb, find the hinging door. Work at it wordlessly. Silver shell skidding slits the skin of joints, leaving one of you open, the other prudently closed. Joints and openings. Those opening hinges that have always stuck for you since my body first took your bones as mine. Those insideless bones marrow sucked away, a fishbone skeleton inside a human woman. You say you'll never shuck oysters again. Your hand leaks a watery ribbon of blood into the shell's peaked hood, its nacre pink and glistening. And your hands open everything, your body twice prying me out. Pry the pearl from that body and leave me that shiny womanhood, that sticking door. Shell to my mouth, soft blood sacrifice. Tenderness tastes like your insides. Mom, I love to eat what you've opened, to be what opens you.
Colleen A. Madden, Steering Reel. Now I understand why my mom drummed her thumbs as we drove home alone. She was not smitten with the Smiths. It was more Morse than Morrissey. SOS. Help us connect. Wishing conversation flowed as we rode, unsure of the cure. Thumbs a tempo, anxiously belting a lyric in her church vibrato. I was stuck in a seatbelt, buckling under angst, cranky and clashing and cranking cassettes. Why are you so far away? She said. Today the scene recurs as I chauffeur my teenagers. I drum my thumbs on the wheel, try to keep it real, yet everything I say is awkward and cringe. Reflection is called lecture. Chit-chat infringes on Snapchat. My questions cause indigestion. Even how was your day skids like roadkill. They're ticked at my talk and turn to TikTok. The sound of music once surged in our car, then Hamilton CDs on repeat. We're serious about serious now, and playlists slay from back seat. I drum my thumbs to the beat, softly sing swift and steer clear of drama, emerge from the roundabout, and embrace the joyride of karma.
This is Mona Anderson reading my poem, We Don't Say What We Mean. I think I just need to get laid, my friend texts. I LOL back, but I'm not laughing out loud and wish I'd erased the 2 exclamation marks. Maybe I should have sent a smiling or laughing face instead, because this LOL is a lie meant to cheer her up, to let her know I understand. Because last week her 95-year-old husband died after taking medically approved pills. Death with dignity. And though LOL isn't dignified, neither is "you go, girl," my other choice. I don't say that IMHO, it might be too soon, or ask how she plans to accomplish this feat. Even at 75, it may not be safe to pick up someone in a bar or hook up with a stranger after fondling Honeycrisp apples in the produce section. Besides, she knows that I know that what she really means is, I just want someone to hold me.
Goddess by Elizabeth Goffrow. You wake at dawn, but you do not rise until the sun crests the horizon and turns the lavender sea the saturated blue of your maidservant's eyes. She enters your chamber with bread and wine, grapes for refreshment, dates for sweetness. You ask her to join you. She demurs. Later, she helps you dress, anoints your hair with perfumed oil. You step into the brilliant blue of mid-morning and pay homage to the sea. You drift through tranquil gardens, brush peonies with your fingertips, release their heady fragrance. I've heard it told that some men can sense your presence, a rustling of leaves where no tree grows, but they will never see you.
Hello, this is Kaylee Barker, and this is my poem, Polaroids. I love these pictures. Chaotic, silly, beautiful. The evident joy, our blurred movements, my complete disregard for my hair. Your effortless perfection, your effortlessness. Could have taken these photos at 38, 17, or 10. And I'm 100% sure we'd be caught in the exact same moment.
Birds of a Feather, written by Anne Howells, read by Melissa Sprague. Yesterday, I drove past a house where someone had placed jack-o'-lanterns on either side of the porch steps. I smiled back at their grinning faces, wanting to share their laughter. My spirits lifted. This morning, I peered into a pet shop window. I watched two budgies, smoothing feathers, squawking amicably, each grooming the other. They might have been us. That's what we are, what we've always been. I gaze now into the bathroom mirror. A gaunt creature stares back, brow furrowed, eyes shadowed, surprised to see myself changed, somehow diminished. When are you coming home?
Xena by John Wessex. Not the warrior princess, but a bit bold. Gray coat, tail wagging pink eyelids. A four-legged dynamo dragging her dog mom across the parking lot, through the laundry, past packages in the mailroom, to me. When dying, she licked my face. Maybe there was tomato sauce on my cheek, but I'd like to think it was a slobbery farewell from the doorway to eternity.
Martin Fitzpatrick, The One About the Cat. I dreamed, she said, that my cat could read and write. The way I knew was, I found her Christmas list. It was surprisingly long, and then in a closet I found the gifts. Everyone was getting the same thing, a mouse. They were lovely, so nicely done, each darling little box tied up neatly with elegant ribbon, and the mouse curled up inside, dead.
Sloth Time by John Delaney, read by David Bannock. Camouflaged in this rainy season, his fur wears green algae and hosts a netherworld of moss and other insects, a symbiotic laissez-faire life. It's not easy to let go of things unless you know you can count on something first. Scrupulously, he reaches out for the next branch and pulls himself up gingerly, as if in the middle of a deep, difficult thought. Will it hold? Thus, handhold by handhold, he climbs the tree, moving through the interstices of time. You catch a glimpse of an idea, a notion, and you bring it to life in slow motion. Sloths have the slowest digestive system of any mammal. They come down out of the trees where they live about once a week to defecate because of that slow metabolism. Why I Rode My Bike in Front of the Car by Brian Evan Jones.
Why I Rode My Bike in Front of the Car, after Lance Larson. Because I was 10, and when you're that age, you know the ending of every story is made up. Once upon a time he died, as purely and exactly unreal as the way the ghosts in Scooby-Doo floated feet above the ground, their mouths snarling, "You kids keep back!" just like a real ghouls would do, then turned out to be dumb masks on dumb men, easily seen through. Because in The Hobbit, Bilbo began burdened by home and its stuff, handkerchiefs and tea. Because my bike's thick, knobbed tyres could have taken me anywhere, and because home was a stop sign stiff with rules. Don't talk with your mouth full, always clean your boots. Because of the place where dirt banks and trees edged the pavement and grew rough, scuffed paths that a bike like mine could climb with hard pressing, then slide and skid on the edge of spill that never came. So Bilbo travelled far and learned to teeter on the line between having and disaster. And that day, as I neared the mouth of our dead-end road, and the air shoved its hand in my face and yanked back my clothes, for once I said, "No, I will be free."
Benediction by Todd McKinley. The ledge rises where the river bends west and curves again south and east. The young wander here in twos and threes to swim or gather in the sun, bodies stretched to bathe on the stone. A group sometimes lingers into the evening, flames enclosed in a circle of stones, extinguished when the law arrives and wishes them a good night. On summer afternoons, children wheel their bikes down the dirt track, towels draped around their necks. They come here to swing from a length of rope gripped by every new generation of swimmers. Here, a short ride from the fast food restaurants and houses crowding the shoreline, they discover how one moment pushes them toward the sky, and hanging weightless, they release, arms extended for one more flight until the earth pulls them back into the current.
This is Coco Cini, side quest at Sleepaway Camp. 12 is too old to be mollycoddled, and too young to relish lonesomeness. Deeper into the woods, my limbs trembled past spur bushes, head sunk low. I'd failed the morning mission to rappel down Missouri limestone into the siren waters of a Walden-esque pond. Everyone in the girls' cabin conquered the 100-foot height, cascaded down like a row of cygnets, leaving the runt to lug harnesses and helmets back to camp. The pack had cut me loose, set free into the cool shadows of pine trees. Hot-cheeked, stilted, sulking, snot-nosed, we cannot know when we are being prepared to meet a god. The fox sat cat-like, upright and near. Its burnt orange coat lit a fire in the sticks, inky eyes staring back, asking who I was, observing like my ancestors from their promontories, placing bets on the strength of my legs, the soundness of my mind. I prayed to be made whole and alike. I could hear the fox purr like bells I never chimed at the right time for the priest's liking. But here, they rung out for just me. Back at camp, I wove a bracelet of burnt sienna and goldenrod, affixed it to my wrist, flashed it around, show and tell style, like when other girls adorned their dressers with porcelain treasures and blue ribbons to signal back to themselves they were special. I, too, decided I was someone.
My name is Christopher Barry, and this is my poem, Letter to the Musician from Mali, playing at an international festival in rural New Hampshire. We love you. We do not love you any less sitting down. As you are explaining the balafon and what it means for you, and teaching us the refrain in your next song, our inner monologue stirred and jaws clenched in anticipation of your invitation to not just sing, but to dance, because we knew we would let you down, not because we did not love your music, but because our rock walls did not build themselves. We were dancing in a barn when the forest swallowed them. Now we stay fixed in our folding chairs to admire the craftsmanship that goes into anything built to last. So while you looped each instrument and rhythm into your song with the effects pedals at your feet, we were adding up the years you put into your music, recognizing that you offered something worth stopping for. But after we stood and clapped to show our appreciation, we left with our jaws and shoulders no longer tense with the possibility that some of us might dance, but with the shame of having remained seated.
Hello, my name's Bob Moore, and this is a poem entitled It's Just This, a poem dedicated to W.S. Merwin. There is this sky, a continuum of air, invisible to the eye. There are these pines, these whorled symmetries, these light-capturing leaves, designs known to the arborists, opened to any mind that takes a breath offered by the sky, by the pines, by water that falls from clouds long since vaporized, designs to nurture worlds, infinite worlds, whirling in cells that repair themselves, systems, within dependent beings, passed down like batons to another able mind like yours.
Audrey Henderson, Page End Out. This is for you, browser in the future dust of a bookshop, looking through the old world's nicotine. The man behind the counter invisible, barricaded by page end out paperbacks so that you jump. It's waiting for you, a thin book with a cover of hemp. Inside are impossibly brief sections of a life, the underwater shade in a room on the avenue, willow roots in cold pond clay. that sunshine of the heart almost passing before you knew what it meant. Audrey Henderson, Hinge. I have watched the small dissolutions, dislocations. Is this an intelligible wind, frantic and summery? The field birds are gone, so soon you wonder. The barn door attracts your attention with its ghost town knocking. You are flapping on the same loose hinge, leaving honey on the table all morning for tiny ants. A high-pressure system yields, giving way to a breeze of fitful leaves through irregular glass.
You've been listening to the audio edition of Touchstone, produced by the Poetry Society of New Hampshire. You can listen to more episodes of Touchstone Talk, our podcast, and audio editions of past issues, as well as catch up on all of the upcoming poetry events in New Hampshire at psnh.org.